We have been hearing about a potential James Harden trade for a while now, but I think everything just became a lot more real. Following Philadelphia ending trade talks involving him after not being able to find a trade they liked for him, Harden went out and made a statement, calling team president Daryl Morey a liar and that he will never be part of an organization that Morey is a part of, pretty much ending any hope that Philadelphia had of running it back with him.
Morey is a liar, and I will never be a part of an organization that he's a part of. Let me say it again. Daryl Morey is a liar, and I will never be a part of an organization that he's a part of again. Thank you, man.
And in my opinion, things are only going to get uglier. Philadelphia quite obviously did not like any trade offers they're getting for Harden, and I can't imagine they'll change within a week or two, meaning that this could go on for another month or so. And with all of that in mind, how do you feel about the Harden situation?
Yeah, I mean, he didn't say it once, he said it twice. He said, "Let me repeat myself," which is crazy because in the past we've heard that someone close to Harden said that he said this or his agent says this, but he actually said this to himself and he knew it was being recorded and that a lot of people would see it. So it's very clear that it's, very personal at this point. He wants out of the organization and he wants to move on from the 76ers, which to me is sad because at one time James Harden and Daryl Morey were great friends, and Morey values James Harden like really high. And personally, I think it's just the beginning for the drama if Harden doesn't get his way. And we might not ever find out exactly what Harden's calling him a liar about, but we can only imagine that it's somewhere along the lines of no long-term max level contract offer from when he opted out to make the more cap room for the 76ers last offseason.
Yep.
He made some sacrifices and expected it to be repaid on the back end, and it never happened or hasn't happened. And now the fact that the 76ers aren't moving him adds more fuel to that. And from a business standpoint and organizational standpoint, you really can't trade for something that isn't going to be in the best interest of the team. And I compare that to like the Lillard and the Trailblazers right now. And it's just how any GM or president's gonna run things, just for the best interest of a team.
Yeah, everything's really difficult here because you get the Harden aspect of him likely, calling him a liar because Daryl Morey probably promised him that he would give him a new contract, whether that would be a max contract like Harden believes it should have been, or whatever it might be. That I get that completely from Harden's end. Then on Daryl Morey's end and the whole organization, they don't want to trade him for nothing. They don't want to get, back a bunch of wash players or bad draft picks or whatever it might be. But, with Harden believing that he's still a max contract guy, he's trending downward. He keeps underperforming come playoff time, even though he was a little bit better this time around this year. And he's soon to be 34 years old. Like, how much can you get for a guy at that point? And you get the Philadelphia aspect here too. I think it's only going to keep getting uglier, and it'll probably go on for a little while yet.
Before we continue, I just wanted to take a few seconds to talk about and invite you to join our NBA Discord server. Our JSM NBA server is full of hundreds of people who love everything NBA. Do you like instant news updates around the league, NBA memes, talking stats, or even live chatting with others during games? The JSM NBA server has got you covered, plus so many more things to do and see. Come check out the JSM NBA server for free. We'd love to see you in there. The link will be in the description below. Now let's get back to the video. Yeah, I mean, here's my thing. Like, I really like James Harden as a player, but obviously I think what he's doing is, it's going to hurt the 76ers, but it's going to hurt himself just as much. He clearly wants to win, and he wants to play at a high level, and he really wants to catch a bag, but what he's doing is not help himself out at all. And it's hard for other teams to see that and want to take that on. And to me, it's kind of like you mentioned before, it's all about impossible for the 76ers to come in and compete this season at a high level. So I guess to me, like, what's next for him, it's going to be pretty simple in my opinion. I know that we kind of thought there was going to be a Houston situation there, and they kind of, with the cap space they got, they kind of went for Fred VanVleet, which to me, okay, that's whatever, but he is a pretty appealing pickup, and I think that's kind of the direction they wanted to go with. But I think the clear-cut answer for me is it would be in his best interest to just work with the 76ers this season and do what's expected and be the professional that he can be.
Yeah, I fully agree with that actually. I don't see it happening at this point. I mean, you know Harden, for better or worse, if he says something, he means it. Like back in Houston in 2020, 2021, during that season when he requested a trade, they tried to work it out with him, and he came back and played, in the quote-unquote fat suit for 10 games or whatever it was, and it did not work out at all. He didn't want to be there. He made it very known he didn't want to be there. He only competed on offense. He didn't care at all about defense or making a connection with the team at that point. It's not going to work. Like, I would love for it to work for Philadelphia because I like the team they have. Like, Joel Embiid and Harden, they're a very good duo. Maxi's only getting better. They have solid depth around them. They could legitimately compete. They did push a Game 7 with Boston in not the conference finals, but the semi. And, I mean, they were, 10 points away from going to the Eastern Conference Finals, where they could have gave Miami a run for their money, and who knows. And given that Harden and Embiid are both in the prime of their career, Harden back end of his prime, they theoretically could. They can compete this year yet. I just don't see it happening. And with that in mind, though, who are they going to be able to pull off a trade with? Harden wants to go to the LA Clippers, but they don't have a whole lot to offer. They're not going to give up Kawhi Leonard or Paul George for Harden. And that would mean their best trade offer would include a combination of Norman Powell, Marcus Morris, Nick Batum, Robert Covington, and then 2 of their tradable first-round draft picks. And for Daryl Morey, you know that's not going to be enough. He wants a trade haul every time he trades a star player. And with all that in mind, it's going to be very difficult for them to come to a conclusion.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, obviously, like you said, with him kind of putting on the show in Houston, and now he's kind of putting on the show here. I mean, he's on the back end of his prime. We know what he can do when he's himself, and it's just I don't really know who's going to take that on. Especially, you talked about the Clippers. They don't need him. I don't think they need him right now. I mean, I don't know if you make a big move for it. Sure, it could work, but that'd be, like you say, only if Daryl Morey would take that offer, which I don't know his standpoint on it. I don't know if he's being stubborn with it too. I do know that James Harden has absolutely zero leverage at all in this whole situation. I was actually watching a video that Woj was talking about, and the new CBA states that if Harden doesn't report to Philadelphia for more than 30 days, then he's a free agent, but only if the 76ers agree to that. But if they don't, which they definitely don't have to, it's technically withholding services in the contract, and he could be fined up to $389,000 per game. That'd be half his salary for the whole year if you just, and then plus he puts his image in stake, and then he goes to free agency after that, and then really, like, I don't know who's gonna pick him up for what he wants. So like, going into this season, he had a pretty big, contract value, and obviously after all this shenanigans right now, it's kind of just depleting, I think. And to me, it would just be in his best interest to keep grinding, try and get his numbers back up, get back to a place where I think we all can agree he can probably get to, and then go into free agency next season. Go in, compete with the 76ers, then if it's still not working out, then maybe go into free agency next season. And to me also, it's a two-sided story. I think it would also be in Daryl Morey's best interest to try and put this back together and meet in the middle, and obviously try and get this out of the public eye and figure all this out.
Yeah, again, I agree. I just don't see it happening. I think the only way it would, and I don't even know if Harden would agree to it at this point, if Philadelphia would turn around Daryl Morey specifically and offer him a contract extension, which I don't see happening because they obviously don't value him at a max contract. I can't remember where the report came from, but one did come out saying that, which Philadelphia probably leaked on their own. And with that in mind, I don't see that happening. But how you mentioned about Harden kind of damaging his image, I agree with that fully. The issue for me here is that Harden, he's now requested a trade 3 times in 3.5 years. And why should a team that's potentially trading for him feel confident that he won't do it again? He's only under a 1-year expiring contract here, and with that coming to an end after this season, will he return? Even if he tells you that he wants to come back, can you believe him? And if you give him a max contract or even anywhere close to it after that year, are you confident that he won't want to trade shortly after that? It's really tough. Like, I love watching James Harden. I've loved watching him for 10 years now, but he's really damaging his image here too. And for an organization, it's a whole lot easier for them to pin the blame on the player rather than on their own. That's just how it is. And especially with the new CBA, how you mentioned that, how they can fine him all that money and it could get really ugly with that. They have all the power here. And I think James Harden, I mean, he can keep playing this game for another month here until training camp, but sooner or later, he'll kind of have to cave in here too.
Oh, I agree 100%. And I think that the only way I can see it working out is because we have to remember James Harden doesn't hate the players. He's just up on Daryl Morey, and him and Embiid are still really good friends. I'm sure his relationship with the rest of the team is still pretty good. I don't know, again, all that back end stuff, I guess, or the locker room talk, but it seems like they're all in good spirits. I think that if Daryl Morey would come out, try and do something, I could see some sort of middle ground being made. And to me, it may be just my feelings involved here, but those guys were really good friends. They were both really high up on each other just a couple years ago, and I'd like to think that could be resolved.
Yeah, I really do too. I don't think it will be. I'm glad you think that way, but I 100% believe that Harden won't be playing for Philadelphia again. I mean, maybe he could pull the Ben Simmons and show up awkwardly to team practice and stand in the back to collect a check. But other than that, I think he's really going to hold out for a trade. I mean, Harden's made, I don't have it in front of me, but probably over $200 million in his NBA career. He's got a big endorsement with Adidas. $35.8 million is a lot of money, but if anyone could pass it up, it would be a guy like James Harden, or even take half of it and get fined the other half. But I do think he will eventually get traded here. Whether it's Philadelphia caving or them actually finding a good deal for him, I'm not sure. But according to Sam Amico of HoopsWire, he is open to other destinations, not only the LA Clippers, so we don't know where that might be, or if any other team would even be willing to trade for him again, but that could definitely help a trade be facilitated. And who knows, if the Miami Heat feel like they can't get Damian Lillard, maybe they would turn their attention to James Harden in about a month here. Who knows?
Or maybe the Harden drama could start up trade talks and potentially get Portland and Miami talking again, and who knows, maybe that could lead to Harden getting traded and everyone getting what they want.
Yeah, I think that would be about the only way everyone would be happy here, and that would be the best resolution for me. That would make Harden happy, Daryl Morey could likely get a good trade package in return then, and hopefully they'd be able to keep Joel Embiid and be able to keep competing with that core as well. That would be the best resolution for me. I'm not sure it'll happen, but it's going to be a lot of fun watching this situation play out over the next month.